Hello and welcome to Somm4All, Sip with Somm4All, that is. This is part two of our series focusing on Karlo Estates of Prince Edward County. I want to thank everyone for taking the time this evening to join me for this. It's a new endeavor that I'm doing. For those of you that were unable to join part one on Sunday, I'm going to give a quick recap of what we did. We showcased the first four wines Karlo Estates has to offer: three whites, a Three Witches white blend. We did a Riesling. We did their Van Alstyne white, and we did their Patio Reserve Rosé. The idea behind this segment is to showcase local businesses here in Eastern Ontario. These are very extraordinary times that we're all under, and more so than ever, local businesses need support. I myself am Somm4All. There we go. We've got the thing reversed. We've got everything straightened out, I think, this time. So Somm4All is a sommelier services company located here in Eastern Ontario, just about 30 kilometers east of Ottawa, offering a range of sommelier services such as private guided tastings on wine, beer, spirits, and sake, fundraising type events, corporate events, customer appreciation events, fundraising events, and brand ambassadorship. The common theme through all those, as you probably have gathered, is dealing with people. So in these social distancing times, I figured I'd try and use my time here on the acreage to help out my fellow colleagues that are in the hospitality industry. So full disclosure, I am the local wine agent for Karlo Estates, so that's why I have their full portfolio at my disposal, and a huge thank you to Sherry Karlo for allowing me to do this with the full portfolio range. Going forward, I'm working with some other local businesses to try and finalize different series events that we can do. And of course, there's no cost for that. So if you do know someone that's in the adult beverage business, located here in Eastern Ontario, so anywhere from Prince Edward County right through to the Cornwall, Hawkesbury, Quebec border, feel free to suggest their name to me or to have them reach out directly to me. My email address is paul@somm4all.com, or I can be reached on the telephone, 613-447-9463. So we did some housekeeping. Now let's move on to Karlo Estates, over my shoulder. Karlo Estates is a premium winery located in Prince Edward County. They are a certified vegan winery. All of their wines are vegan, of course. The ink that's used on the labels and the labels themselves that are on the bottles are vegan. The owner and vintner, Sherry Karlo, is a vegan and has been since her college days. And it's a cause that is near and dear to her heart. So they're certified vegan. And some people may be thinking, do I really need a vegan winery in my life? Yes, you do if you want to drink good wine. That's the whole premise. The winemaking process involves animal byproducts at the very end in a process that we call fining, where they can use things like gelatin or gelatin, which is made but from hoof. They can use isinglass, which is fish gallbladder. They can use animal blood. So different animal byproducts can be used as coagulants to help get those microscopic bits that may find its way through in the winemaking process. However, Sherry Karlo and her late husband Richard Karlo were of the mindset that no animals will be hurt in the making of the wine. So they do two things. They use either bentonite clay, which is flavorless, odorless, and is old school winemaking. No animal byproducts there. Or they use time and gravity to settle down the wines before they fill their bottles. So a little background on Karlo Estates and what vegan wine making is. So no, you do not need to be a vegan to enjoy the wines. The animals certainly prefer if you are, but you just need to be a lover of good wines to enjoy Karlo Estate wines. So that being said, let's dive into the first of 7 wines. We're going to try and keep this one to about 25-26 minutes. We're going to go through 7 wines. I'm going to showcase the bottles. I'm going to talk a little bit about what I'm tasting, what I'm smelling, to give you a sense as to what's going on. Also, before I dive in, I almost forgot, for those of you that are in Eastern Ontario that are tuning in, thank you. Again, And due to the generosity of Sherry and Karlo and Sachs Brickenden, I have this lovely Founders Sommelier corkscrew. If I can get the lighting here in my home studio to show it properly. This is a quality corkscrew, the sommelier corkscrew, modeled after the one the late Richard Karlo himself used to use. And for everyone that says a little hi on the Facebook feed, your name will go into a draw to win one of these, complimentary of Karlo Estates. So I have some of the names from part 1, and I've got names from part 2. Also want to take one more second just to say thank you so much to the over 400 people that tuned in to part 1. That was fantastic. So welcome back to those of you that are here for part 2, and a sincere welcome to all of you that are joining for the first time. Our first wine that we're going to go through is the 2018 Karlo Estates Property Estate Grown Marquette. Now, some of you may be wondering, Marquette, that's a name that I'm not familiar with. The reason for that may be that it is what we call a cold climate or hybrid varietal. So a lot of us are familiar with the terms Cabernet Sauvignon, Sauvignon Blanc, Riesling, Merlot, all those type of grapes. Those are part of a family called vinifera. So they're part of a family that, they all have similar DNA profiles to a degree, found in Europe. The other side of the coin is these hybrids, these cold climate varietals. So Marquette is a grandchild of Pinot Noir, but it also uses locally grown vines that were found here in North America, and they've been what we call crossed and then clinically developed at the University of Minnesota, who has a great program for doing that. The reason that the University of Minnesota does this is to create grapes, vines, that can withstand the rigors of the cold climates in Minnesota, in the northeastern United States, and then of course by extension up here in Canada. So Marquette is one of those. Again, grandchild of Pinot Noir. This bottle, I'm going to pick it up again. This is a bit of a historic bottle. It's the first of the new hybrid varieties to be given VQA status here in Ontario, and that stands for Vintners Quality of Alliance. So it's kind of the big blessing body that looks after what the characteristics of wines are to ensure that these things are what they should be, and blah, 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 blah. I don't want to get into what VQA is, but it's a historic thing here in Ontario. The other thing is it's also, I'm going to pick it up, I should have kept it in my hands, this is the first bottle, I'm going to get that close to the camera, to have the new VQA logo on it. So VQA recently redesigned their logo, and as Marquette is newly approved to be VQA, Karlo Estates was lucky enough to be the first ones to have the new VQA logo on it. So lots of good stuff going on just with the bottle. Now we're going to talk about what's inside the bottle. This is what we're all tuned in for. So if you've got your glass, whatever you have at home, whether it's whiskey or sake or beer or spirits, feel free to play along and sniff along virtually. If you don't have anything, just hold up your hand. We're all socially distanced. We're all at home. No one's going to see. You can just pretend and play along. So this is the Marquette. You can see good color on that wine. This is dark colored. This is hand harvested from the winery in Prince Edward County, Karlo Estates. It's seen 9 months of barrel aging, so in wood barrel, 9 months. And it was filtered and then hand bottled. So again, you can tell that the quality and the care that goes into Karlo wines by the fact that it's hand bottled, hand harvested. Let's take a smell here. So on the nose, we're getting floral notes, and I do swirl my glass. I'm going to do some kind of funny things. You guys are going to wonder what I'm up to. Hey, Paul. Hey, Diane. Hello. I see Julie and Debbie's on board. Welcome, folks. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Diane, welcome back. I think we've got things straightened out this time. Ha, ha, ha. So on the nose here, I swirl the glass to try and wake up the wine, get a little bit of oxygen in there just to wake up the aromas. And I'm getting some floral notes right off the top. So lily, a little bit of hyacinth. I'm getting Bing cherries, so bright red cherries, some cherry powder, some cooked black fruit, some ripe plum, a touch of minerality, and there's a little touch of mint on the back end. This is just it smells refreshing, smells lovely. Now we're going to dive in. Wow. refreshing. So when we talk about good acidity, that may be a term that you hear about or read about. People talk about the acid of wines. That refers to how much your mouth is watering and how fresh your mouth feels. I see David Gardner is here. Hello, David Gardner. Thank you very much for joining in and for all your support. So this Marquette, boy, oh boy, oh boy. Grandchild of Pinot Noir. So on the palate, getting some cooked black currant, getting a little bit of dried cherry, some plum, a little bit of mint, a little oregano. I'm going to go back in for another sip. Soft white pepper, hint of baking spice, and there's just a little bit of powdered chocolate on the back end. Just a lovely, lovely wine. Now, for those of you that are wondering why I'm making all this noise and swirling and swooshing and sucking and blowing and all that good stuff, as being a wine nerd, the sommelier that I am, I like to inhale some oxygen with the wine to try and wake things up, and then I try and coat my palate. I swoosh the wine all through my mouth, and so I get the 5 sensory touch points that we all have in our mouth to touch the wine to try and determine if it's salty, is it savory, is it out of balance or hot, or all those type of things. So there's a rhyme and a reason, plus it just looks cool. What can I say? So, black currant, all that mint, that powdered chocolate. On the finish, again, that powdered chocolate just washes over. Great fruit, great structure. What would you pair this with? I'd go with earthy type foods. Lentil stew would be fine. Mushroom risotto, certainly. Grilled eggplant, if you're leaning to the vegetarian, vegan world. It also has that great acidity I talked about earlier. That means it can stand up to some tomato sauces. So you're doing black bean burritos, or you're doing homemade pizzas, any pizza, but these days we're all locked in, so homemade pizzas. This is a perfect wine for that. $24 a bottle, you just really can't go wrong. This wine's won the bronze medal at the All Canadian Wine Championships. It was awarded 90 points by David Lawson of Wine the Line, and for those of you that are watching in and listening in that are nerdy like myself, we know who David Lawson is. 90 points by David. And this was the star of the 2020 Canadian Culinary Championships grand finale event held here in Ottawa at the end of January, early February. There was an event where, to celebrate the end of the 3-day competition, select wineries were welcomed in to showcase some of their wines, and the lineup, I had the pleasure of being there myself. The lineup at our table was incredible. People came back again and again and again for the Marquette. We sold out of it in under 75 minutes. Absolutely incredible. There you go. The Marquette from Karlo Estates. So, we're going to move on now to wine number 2, and this would be the Lake on the Mountain Pinot Noir. And we'll try and get that in there so you guys can see the label. It's even got the dry stone bridge on there that's at Karlo Estates. 2007 Lake on the Mountain Pinot Noir. A dry Pinot Noir. All the Karlo wines, with the exception of their fortifieds, are dry, of course. 13.5% alcohol. 11% alcohol in the Lake of the Mountain. That's my error. And Sherry refers to this one, Sherry Karlo being the vintner. Sherry calls this her Southern Belle. The fruit for this, the grapes from this, come from Lake of the Mountain, which is a region about 25 minutes from the winery itself, but still in Prince Edward County. Lake of the Mountain is a plot of land that sits at about 100 meters above sea level in Prince Edward County. It's the highest elevation, and grapes grown in that vineyard tend to have a very floral, light note to them, and that rings true throughout this Pinot Noir. The grapes are also smaller in diameter, which means that when you go to press them to make the wine, you're getting higher skin to juice content. So that's going to affect the structure of the wine and produce a bit more of a luscious wine. Wow, yeah, that's just so soft and delicate. So this was handpicked, fermented in small bins, 11 months of French oak treatment, lightly filtered, gently gravity-filled bottling. Let's just go in for a smell. Again and again and again. Boy, it's got those fresh strawberries, that fresh fruit, cherries, violet. You get that fresh raspberry, some blackberry, just, a little bit of soft toffee on the back end. Just so soft and delicate. Got to go in for a taste. Just absolutely delicious. This is lots of ripe red berries on the palate, a little bit of soft black pepper, a little earth. I mean, Pinot Noir tends to be a little earthy. A hint of butterscotch on the back end, and just again that great acidity, that great your mouth is watering. It's nice and fresh. There's nothing bland or boring or stale in there. You know, when Sherry calls this her Southern Belle, it's aptly named. It's just such a pretty delicate wine. $35 a bottle for that. Now that's quality winemaking right there. This is a great time to talk about the winemaking team at Karlo Estates. It's led by Derek Barnett. For those of you that may not be as entrenched in the wine industry as myself, Derek Barnett is a legend in the Ontario winemaking, Canadian winemaking world. An absolute legend. Sweetheart of a man, but just absolute legend. I've been making wine for 25 years. Derek has won more awards than you can count. He's been winemaker of the year. Just the man can do no wrong when it comes to wine. And at Karlo Estates, you have Derek as the head, and you have soon-to-be legend Spencer Meyer, who I call a young gun, working under the tutelage of Derek. The two of them I refer to as the dynamic duo at Karlo Estates. And that wine, if you have a sip of that, you're going to understand exactly what I'm talking about. Just delicious. So number 3, we're moving along. Number 3 will be the Karlo Estates estate-grown Pinot Noir. And now this is a great opportunity to refresh the memories of those who joined us for part 1 and to let those of you joining for part 2 why there is an S on Karlo Estates. As we can see there, Karlo Estates. So Karlo gets their fruit, their grapes, 3 ways. They get it from growing it on their property itself, so estate grown in this case. They get it from very carefully selected vineyards in Niagara for some of the fruit that just won't ripen in Prince Edward County. And there's Lake of the Mountain, which we talked about with the Pinot Noir, the Southern Belle, where, full disclosure, right on there, the good folks at Karlo Estates have no problem at all saying this is Lake of the Mountain, much like the Riesling was in part 1. It's right on the bottle there for part 2. So this is, again, the estate-grown Pinot Noir. This was a labor of love, from what I can understand, by the late Richard Karlo. And I keep saying late Richard Karlo. We talked about Richard in part 1 on Sunday. Richard was the winemaker. Unfortunately, Richard passed away in 2014. He suffered from colon cancer. And Sherry, his wife, kept the winery going, kept the mantra going, and kept the vision going, and she's doing phenomenal stuff there. And I know that Richard will be extremely proud of what Sherry's been doing. So Lake of the Mountain Estate Pinot Noir. So this wine we're coming in, and we're at 11% alcohol again. But this is more of an old world Burgundian, French Burgundian style Pinot. So I talked about Lake of the Mountain Pinot being Southern Belle, delicate, light, floral. This one is more French Burgundy-esque. And it really showcases the incredible terroir, that sense of soil and microclimate, and just sense of being that is Karlo Estates. I love the smell of that wine. Sherry calls this one her romantic cowboy. It's deeper, it's darker, it's earthier in character than the Southern Belle, than the Lake of the Mountain. I think of it as a more bold and more maybe sophisticated big brother to the Lake of the Mountain Pinot Noir. Again, the grapes are hand-picked. They're fermented in small bins. 11 months aging in carefully selected third fill French oak. Why is that important? Why do I say third fill French oak? Well, when you use oak that's been used before, when you're using oak barrels that's been used before, you're really trying to let the wine itself speak, and the flavor compounds that you get out of oak, whether you use French oak or use American oak, and that's a species of tree, by the way, that doesn't necessarily mean it comes from that continent or that region or that country. Those newer barrels of French oak or American oak or Canadian oak, they impart flavors the first time they're used through the aging process, and you'll get your vanilla notes, or you'll get some pepper notes, or you'll get whatever. When you use barrels the second time or third time, and especially when you get into the third time, you're really just letting the wines naturally breathe and do their thing. You're not really looking to add additional flavor and compounds to it. So the French are very good at this, the French in France. when I say the French. And this is really a nod to that style of winemaking. So we're letting the wine speak for itself. And on the nose, wow, this is my type of Pinot. I affectionately call these a dirty Pinot. They tend to have those deeper notes and those more earthier type of notes. I'm getting black cherry. I get a little nice cranberry on the nose, tea leaf, cedar, some mushroom, again, black earth. I get a little sweet tobacco, some cigar box, and some leather saddle. And I think that's kind of where sherry is going with the Romantic Cowboy. You get that tobacco and that saddle, and it kind of brings up those old Western movies and that romantic notion. On the palate, big cherry, big, nice, ripe, full-flavored cherry. I got a little cranberry as well, nice and refreshing. Some cassis, that blackcurrant cassis, some tea leaf. I see the legend himself has joined in. Hello to Derek Barnett. I'm sorry to interrupt the wine tasting, but thank you so much for joining, Derek. I was just telling everyone about how Karlo Estates is so lucky to have you on board, and I'm extremely fortunate to call you a colleague, so thank you for joining in. If you hear something that you don't agree with, Derek, by all means, send me a note here and tell me that I'm off base. So back to what we're tasting. That cranberry, cassis, the mushroom. I get a little dry clove. Getting some chocolate, some truffle, some cedar, some sandalwood, and just a little bit of soft black pepper. Just a lovely, lovely, lovely Burgundian French style wine. Great balance, Romantic Cowboy, absolutely. What would you pair this with? You could go bolder flavors, nutty whole grains, absolutely. That mushroom risotto, you could do a salmon with this. I've done tortillere with this, the Quebec style meat pie, and that is just out of the world. Although that being said, I'm entering month 4 of being a vegetarian, so I haven't had any meat pie since December. But just an absolute lovely, lovely wine. 92 points awarded to this wine by Dr. Jamie Good, who is a world-renowned wine reviewer. 92 points from Canada's own John Savos, who I believe is Canada's first master of wine, or master sommelier. I'll have to double check that, but John is a big deal in Canada. Another bronze medal winner at the National Wine Awards of Canada. Just absolutely lovely. Wow, quality winemaking in the glass. Alrighty, so we're moving on now to wine number 4. Wine number 4, for some of you, may be a surprise. If you didn't catch part 1, then this will be a bit of a shock to you to find out that at Karlo Estates, they've got just shy of 2 acres of Malbec. Yes, you're seeing that correctly. Estate Malbec in Prince Edward County, and only from Karlo Estates. Now, Malbec is originally a French varietal from the southwest of France in the Cahors region. Now, most of us, or a lot of people, know it nowadays as an Argentinian wine. And it does very well in Argentina, and they've got the right climate for it and all that. But in Argentina, you get a much more stewed fruit and a much more unctuous and richer style of Malbec, certainly when it's done properly. But when you get into the French version, it tends to be lighter and more refreshing, and this is a nod and an homage to that, and this is why it works within that little microclimate that Karlo Estates has in Prince Edward County. Fresher fruit notes again, a lighter body, and a lighter mouthfeel. So the grapes here were harvested in late October, but they were let to go that long to achieve maximum ripeness. Which adds complexity and concentration to the flavors, fermented in small bins, and then barreled in a blend of French and Canadian oak. And again, remember, those are species of wood, not countries. And it was done for 19 months of aging, and then gently filtered and hand bottled. So again, that attention to detail and that quality that you expect from Karlo Estates. I don't know how well this is coming through. Again, the home studio lighting here. I got to hire a new lighting director, I think. But this is a deep, dark, violet kind of color in the wine. Aromas of blackberry, plum, a little fresh herb. I get some cassis. There's a little bit of tar, and that's that's a good thing. And there's something sweet in there, almost like a creme brulee or a little bit of burnt butterscotch. Wow. So on the palate, I get plum, I get fresh black cherry, I get dried cherry, blackberry, a little bit of licorice, some vanilla, get a little touch of tobacco, some sandalwood, and then just on the back end of the finish, just a little bit of cocoa. Soft on the palate, a little bit of grippy tannin. Now tannin, for those of you that may not be familiar, that's when you get that what we call cottonmouth feel. So when you taste a wine, red wine specifically, and your lips are kind of sticking to the tops of your gums a little bit, and you feel a little cottonmouthy, that's tannin. That's what we call astringency, and that's tannin. And so this wine's got a bit of that, but it's not overpowering. It's not drying out your mouth. It's just there to let you know that, hey, I'm very food friendly and I'm ready to eat something. You could also drink this on its own, of course. Just refreshing and yum. This always turns heads. People are always very, very surprised by it. And then you tell them that it's a Derek Barnett wine, and then no one's surprised. They're in the world of winemaking. Certainly here in Canada, and of course here in Ontario, you've got wine, Ontario wine, which is very good. Ontario wine, it's world-class wine. And then you got to move up, and you go up to Derek Barnett, Karlo Estates wine. That's a whole other benchmark. So what would I pair this Malbec with? Roasted gamey meats, earthy dishes, absolutely. Stuffed red peppers, grilled on a barbecue, a little bit of char. And then braised meats. You're doing any kind of short rib or braised chicken, braised duck. Absolutely not a problem. That'll go with it right then and there. Little break for water of life, real water. And I'm going to remind everyone again, for those of you tuning in, if you do say hi and you check in, your name will go into a draw to win, courtesy of Karlo Estates. The good folks, Sherry, Karlo herself, and Sachs Brickenden. This Founder's Sommelier Corkscrew, high quality bronze piece. This will be the last corkscrew you will ever need. And this is graciously donated by Sherry and Sachs, and it's modeled after the one the late Richard Karlo himself used to use. So please feel free to say hi, enter some comments. Don't be shy. Wine number 5. We're moving right along. We're coming into the Quintus. Yes, Quintus. So I'm going to hold this up for everyone to see. This is something truly, truly special, and I am so thrilled to be able to share this with you guys today. Absolutely, absolutely excited by the Quintus. It's dry red wine, 13.5 alcohol by volume. And this, I'm going to hold it up again because you're going to want to take screenshots of this. This is a wine that every wine enthusiast should have in their cellar. I mean, you need a case of this. You really do. It's a unique blend of 5 classic Bordeaux varietals. And when I say Bordeaux, of course, I mean Bordeaux, France. It hasn't been made by Karlo Estates since 2013, and it was only made 3 times before that. Extreme care has been taken in selecting the fruit for this wine, and the 5 varieties that go into it, hence the name Quintus: Malbec, Petit Verdot, Merlot, Cab Franc, Cabernet Sauvignon. And what this is really an Ontario terroir version of a Bordeaux blend. I just love smelling this wine. It's really becoming my new favorite. So wines for each of the grape varieties that I just listed, the wine was made separately and then carefully blended under the masterful eye of Derek Barnett and Spencer Meyer, again, that dynamic duo. And they were blended and allowed each variety to really showcase the unique aspects of their flavor and texture, and it all done with perfect balance. The fruit was allowed to hang on the vine until perfect ripeness was achieved for each of the varieties, and then fermented again in small bins, so small batch. This is artisanal production at its best. French oak was used for each of those 5 wines for 10 months each. Then, After blending, they were aged for an additional 14 months once they were blended. So this is a labor of love. This is time. This is patience. This, folks, is quality. On the nose, I had to go in for a sip. I know I said the nose, but it's too good. It's just too good. So on the nose, you tell I'm a fan. Cherry, blueberry, cassis, violet, a little bit of earth, a little bit of white pepper, some dried herbs. I'm getting a little bit of vanilla, a little milk chocolate, and just a bit of dried cedar. It's just such a delight on the nose. Such a delight. On the palate, now I get to have a second sip. That is so good. I think I said it in part one over and over again. We need smell-o-vision and taste-o-vision. I know everyone in North America and the world are busy making other things, and God bless everyone for that, but we got to figure out the smell-o-vision and taste-o-vision later just for this wine. We're getting sour cherry. We're getting that blueberries coming through. Blackberry, plum, cassis. Those dried herbs, again, some little savory notes. The tobacco's coming through, a little bit of earth. Some baking spice going back in. White pepper. A little bit of milk chocolates in there. I get a little minerality, so that keeps everything nice and fresh and balanced on the palate. I get that sandalwood and I get that cedar. This is silky soft in the mouthfeel. It's unbelievable. It's like if you were to drink velour, this is what it would be. Great body. Soft, just absolutely delicate, lovely, great structure, fantastic balance of acidity. There is tannin there, so this tells me it's ready for food, and we're not afraid of proteins or to dig ourselves in, but we don't need food with this wine. So that being said, what would you pair it with? Stews, black beans, portobello mushroom dishes, grilled, well-marbled red meats. And so I said before, I'm a 4-month vegetarian. This, though, it would go perfectly with a grilled ribeye. If you're of that, if you're of that persuasion, absolutely. Any type of protein that's in one of those red-eye gravy sauces, so a little bit of coffee in there or what have you, or easy to do, and almost more importantly, you just sit back and enjoy and marvel at the harmony that's in this glass. I'm going to hold the bottle up again. This here, the Quintus, in my opinion, is just an outstanding example of what that dynamic duo of Spencer and legendary Derek Barnett can produce. This is world-class Prince Edward County wines. I'm always sideways. Am I still sideways? I thought we fixed that. Gary, thank you for telling me. I honestly thought I'd fixed that. So I'm very sorry that I'm sideways, folks. We will get this fixed for the next series. I'm disappointed and surprised by that. What I'm going to have to do is, after I post the videos, and please stick with me, we got 2 more to go, I'll take them down, I'll figure out how to manipulate them, and then I'll put them back up on the Somm4All Facebook page as right side up. But I thought we had that fixed. Sorry about that. But thank you for letting me know. So we're going to move on to wine number 6, the Petit Pearl. Petit Pearl, and hopefully this, well, if I get some sideways, I don't really understand that, but we'll fix it. So the Petit Pearl, this is another one of those hybrid wines, cold climate varieties developed at the University of Wisconsin. Sorry, not Wisconsin, University of Minnesota. Go Badgers. University of Minnesota. And it's a cold climate hybrid wine, developed to thrive in cold climates, and as such it thinks that Prince Edward County is a warm climate. Lots of character in this varietal. It's developed, again, to thrive in the cold conditions up here. I like to jokingly tell folks, this is a wine you want to sit down and then you want to put a seatbelt on for. It's bold, it's fresh, it's complex, and it's unlike anything that you probably had before. It's a very popular seller at Karlo Estates, but very, very different. Hand-harvested grapes fermented in small bins and then aged for 15 months before being bottled by hand. It's got an incredibly inky dark color. Don't know how well that's coming through here, especially if it's sideways. On the nose, getting black cherry, getting cassis, white pepper, floral notes. There's coffee, black licorice, damp cedar, herbal notes. There's almost a sense of peatiness in here. On the palate, stewed black currant, black cherry, plum, savory herb, a little candy, some black earth, peppery spice, good tannins, tons of fun on the nose, and tons of fun on the palate. Great character, solid finish, very food friendly, and it's 20 bucks a bottle. You cannot have more fun than that. What would you pair this with? I'd go with a cottage pie on the vegetarian side, mushroom soup, black bean tostados, grilled lamb or grilled beef burgers, a mushroom and garlic sausage pizza, if you were so inclined. Great wine for the price, and plus, if you're having people over, when we're allowed to do so, your friends will never guess what this is. So you can have tons of fun at 20 bucks with that wine. But just a great, great wine. Lay that down for 2-3 years. It's got enough tannins. Be complete. It's a complete bottle of fun. All right, so we're going to move on to the last wine. It's my water to clear the palate, and this is the Van Alstyne Red. So Van Alstyne Red, 2017 Van Alstyne Red, and this is a fortified wine. So this would be a sweeter style wine. Fortified wine means a port style, where a low alcohol base wine is made, and then a neutral alcohol spirit is added to it to fortify the flavors and the intensities, and of course the alcohol itself. This one comes in at 18% by volume. Using a cold climate variety, Frontenac Noir, developed at University of Minnesota as well. And it thrives in cold temperatures, doesn't need to be buried in the winter like vinifera. So Cab Sauv and Merlots and those type of grapes, they need to be buried in the winter up here in Canada for the most part, and these don't. They do okay in a dormant season. Barrel aged for 18 months in French oak. It smells deep. On the nose, it's got a deep smell. It's got black raspberry, stewed prune, some spice, cassis, dark chocolate. Let's go in for a taste. Red licorice, black raspberry compote, stewed cherries, dark chocolate, cedar. It's got a luscious mouthfeel. It's round, it's soft, full, nice lingering finish. As a dessert wine, this would work very well with anything chocolate or dark chocolate. You could have it as well with figs or walnuts or blue cheese. That would all work. These type of port styles, it's modeled after a ruby port, and these type of styles are referred to as a true gentleman's drink. So I'm going to say smoke them if you got them. This would also pair brilliantly with a quality handmade Cuban cigar, if you're so inclined. A Bolivar Royal Corona or Robena Unico comes to mind. And is named among one of the top 10 cutting-edge wines of the world. So this is something different. It's the first fortified wine to ever be made in Prince Edward County as well. So a little bit of history there with the name Van Alstyne Red. I'm going for one more taste. So folks, we've come to the end of the virtual wine tasting. I want to thank you all for joining in. I apologize, and again, thank you, Gary, for letting me know about this sideways thing. We will get this fixed. I will save this video, I'll flip it, and I'll stick it back up for people to see going forward. We did think we had this issue resolved, but obviously not, so I apologize for that again. How do you get these wines? Well, if you're in Eastern Ontario, the easiest thing to do is call Paul. You can call me at 613-447-9463, 447-WINE, W-I-N-E, on my cell. You can reach out to me by email, paul@somm4all.com. I look after Eastern Ontario for Karlo Estates, so I can ensure that you get the wine. If you're in the capital region, within the Ottawa region, you'll get that hand delivered by me safely, sanitized, and conveniently. So no worries there. If you're within the Prince Edward County region and want to drive by the winery, give them a call at 613-399-3000. They're located at 561 Danforth Road in Wellington. They're offering white glove service, again, to safely and conveniently place the products right in your vehicle and then send you on your way. And for the rest of Ontario, if you're not within PEC and you're not within the capital region, to keep things simple, reach out to me anyways, paul@somm4all.com or 613-447-9463, or DM me here on Facebook or Instagram or on Twitter, and I'll coordinate the shipment directly to your doorstep safely, conveniently. So that's the conclusion of part 2 of Karlo Estates, their Reds. I'm going to keep this series going. I'm working with a number of other local businesses who like this format where I can virtually taste and showcase their products, and I'll share with you how you can also get these wines delivered right to your doorstep. I'm not the representative for those brands. I'm just doing this as a service. We're all in this together. These are extraordinary times. The hospitality industry, service industry is suffering big time, as are many other industries as well. And so this is just my small way of trying to give back. The raffle for the Corkscrew will be conducted tomorrow. So if you haven't already said hi or checked in, please do so. It'll be mailed directly from Karlo Estates. Thank you again to the hundreds that tuned in for part 1. I'll only see the metrics for this